Hi, everyone. I'm Cheryl with the BookWidgets team. I'm so happy to see all of you here today. Today, I'm going to show you the new Google Classroom add-on with BookWidgets. We're going to talk to you about the 4 superpowers that you can have in your Google Classroom. As we move on, I want to remind any of you who are new to BookWidgets exactly what BookWidgets is. BookWidgets is a teacher content creation tool. So it's a tool that teachers use to create content for themselves. And it's also an evaluation tool that teachers can use with their students. These, of course, are 2 of the superpowers that we're going to talk about, the power of creation and the power of evaluation. We'll also talk about the power of auto grading. And I love the real-time monitoring that we have inside our learning management system. If you are not a Google Classroom user, that means that you do not have Google for Teaching and Learning or Google EDU. That's okay. Don't forget that we still have that Google extension. So you still will be able to use that, that Google extension, and you will be able to create lessons and have wonderful activities for you and your students. So let's go ahead and dive into our Google Classroom. So you can see here that I am inside my teacher Google Classroom, and it's the same Google Classroom that we are all familiar with. I have my stream, my classwork, my students, and my grades, and we're going to dive right into the classwork section. Feel free to follow along with me with your own Google Classroom if you'd like to. And just a friendly reminder again that we are recording this so you can come back and watch it. So once I'm inside my classroom, like I would normally, I'm going to go ahead and select Create an Assignment. And when I select Create Assignment, you will see those new Google add-ons. And we have our list of Google add-ons at the bottom of our assignment. We're going to scroll down and we're going to look for BookWidgets. If these add-ons are not enabled for you in Google Teaching and Learning or Google for Education, please make sure that you request for your school site administrator to enable those. And of course, you can always reach out to us at support@bookwidgets.com. We want to make sure that this is seamless for you. So reach out to us, support@bookwidgets.com, if you have any questions. So I'm going to select that BookWidgets add-on by clicking on the BookWidgets add-on, and you may be prompted to log in or create your BookWidgets account. All users have a 30-day free license of the BookWidgets account. So if you're new to BookWidgets, go ahead, sign your account, and then you can follow right along with me. So I'm on my BookWidgets page now. So we see here that my BookWidgets page has opened up, and these are my classes. I'm going to come down to the bottom and I'm going to select Create a New Widget. So inside Google Classroom, I'm going to use that power of creation, my first superpower, to create a BookWidgets activity. When I select Create, you will see again that BookWidgets, the BookWidgets platform, opens up directly inside Google Classroom. And we have all of those activities that we are familiar with if we've been using BookWidgets. If you're new to BookWidgets, BookWidgets has over 40 template types. And these are the templates that you will choose from. The templates are organized by category. So we have our flashcards, quizzes, web quests, all in our test and review category. We have our games category. Pictures and videos, these are some of my favorite templates inside pictures and videos. If you haven't checked them out, please make sure that you take some time to discover those. We have some specific math activities, some third-party embedded activities, and of course, our miscellaneous checklist and planner. I love the planner for keeping organized. Today, I'm going to go up to one of our favorites. Our top 3 widgets that we use are the worksheet, the split whiteboard, and the quiz. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select worksheet. So I want to select worksheet. I'm going to click that. And now I will be taken to my creation dashboard. In my creation dashboard, my hint to you is always work from left to right, top to bottom. So I'm going to go ahead on the upper left, make sure that I have a title here for my worksheet. For those of you who are familiar with me, I am a language teacher, a world language teacher, as well as a teacher of English to speakers of other languages. So I'm going to demo in a language classroom, but all of these activities are totally adaptable for you. You can include a description if you want, but it's not necessary. Some teachers in the description include a date, a standard, or some more information about that activity. And anything that you put in these two areas will be visible to your students. Let's continue down that left navigation. And this About section is fairly new. We added the About section 4 months ago, and this is a section that is just for you. I use this section for taking notes. I put in websites or my standards here, and this section is not visible to your student. It's only visible to the owner or the editors of the widget. So if you share the widget, it will be available to those people as well. So you just can click edit. It will bring up your text editor. You can put whatever you'd like inside that widget, click done, and now it saves your work for you. Talking about saving, you'll notice that we don't have a save button in BookWidgets. Everything is auto-save for you. So we have auto-save for you as you're working through BookWidgets. Let's come back on over to that navigation toolbar and working from the top to the bottom. Next will be our questions. So this is where we will add our questions. Before I hop into questions, I just want to talk about the navigation rail a little bit more. Title and reporting is where you will decide whether the students will send their answers back to you inside Google Classroom, or is this just an activity where they will be working on their own and the grade will be visible to them, but it's not something necessarily that they're turning in. So you might disable that if you're doing a review or a practice in class. General has all of the general options for your worksheet, not the individual option for your question type, but the general universal options for the worksheet. So a couple of things that you want to pay attention to are the scoring and correction options. Do you want them to see the correct answer? Do they need a password to show the answer? Is there color coding for correct answers? So you want to make sure that you check this out. And also check out our BookWidgets for Beginners. We have a great video that goes through all of the components of the general section for you. Localization design and import from Excel, I'm going to leave for an advanced webinar. So let's come on back to where we were with our questions. And we're going to come to the center now, and we're going to add a question. Before I select add a question, I want to point out to you this super secret cogwheel. If you pull down from this cogwheel, you will see that you can import questions from another widget, from a CSV. For those of you who were Edmodo users and exported your quizzes using our Chrome extension, you can import from an existing Edmodo tool, and then also import from a document, a doc or a PDF. This is such a great time saver when we talk about the power of creativity. So I want to highlight these for you and what you can do with these tools underneath that cogwheel. For me right now, I'm going to select add a question. And when we select add a question, now you will see once again that power of creativity, 35 different question types that are available to you. Everything is here to meet the needs of all of your learners, from your beginning students, for example, me, my students just learning English, new to the United States, or for your most advanced, your gifted students. Everything is here to help you. I just want to highlight for you also the filter option. There's so many question types. Sometimes it's easy for you to just say, I'm looking for a true false question, and BookWidgets will do that work for you and pull up those question types that it thinks that you want. So make sure you check out all of those different question types. I'm going to add my favorite question type, which is an annotate picture. An annotate picture is where the students have a picture in the background and they add information onto that picture. The question is really, what are you asking your students to do? So I always start with the same ritual and routine so my students know exactly what I'm doing. And I always start with directions. You might use instructions or today's task. And you'll notice you also have your rich text editor. So if you want to include links or videos, you can do that right inside your question here. So I'm going to ask my students to complete the activities. And remember that spelling counts. You can add a picture if you'd like. And of course, since this is our annotate picture, we must go grab that picture. We have three choices. We can choose an image that's saved on our device. We can import something from Google Drive, or we can use our Pixabay picture editor, which will search for Creative Commons license images for you. So no copying, pasting, cropping, everything is available there for you. I've saved an image on my device for today's session. So I'm going to go ahead and get my image, open it up, and BookWidgets will do the rest with the power of creativity by adding my image into my question. This is where I will now add input fields. Input fields are what my students are going to be doing, the activity. So I'm going to add my first input field. And remember, working top to bottom, I'm going to put in the correct answer. In this instance on the picture, I'm going to ask my students to name the animals. And I know that one of the animals that I want them to name is elephant. And once again, with the power of creativity in BookWidgets, you can have more than one correct answer. So I'm going to put in a double hashtag. That's how you say to BookWidgets, there's more than one answer that my students might choose. And some of my students might put in that article. So I'm going to put in that article. You'll notice here that I'm not worrying about capitalization. BookWidgets will take care of that for me. Now I'm going to come down to my position. Where do I want my students to enter elephant? So I'm going to click on my image. It opens up my entire picture inside BookWidgets, and I'm going to move my radio button to the head of my elephant. A little trick for those of you who are BookWidgets users, that input field is on top of the giraffe, and all you have to do is click somewhere else to move that input field. So you don't have to worry about dragging and dropping and then maybe resizing the box. You can merely click where you would like that input field so that your students will enter their answer there. If you're at all like me, when I first start using something, I'm like, I have to make sure that it's really working. So let's take a look at the preview. So remember, we're still inside our Google Classroom. We created our worksheet with the title, and now we can see here is the input field that my students will see when they receive that activity. I'm going to select this small X in the upper right to return to editing. But don't worry, if you ever hit that large X, BookWidgets always auto-saves everything for you. So I'm going to go ahead and come back to my dashboard, and I'm going to add a second input field. Once again, this time I'm going to do my monkey. I'm going to click where I would like that input box, and you can click wherever you would like it. Select done. Let's go ahead and add our correct answer. And you can do this in any order. The first time I entered the correct answer and then did the input field. You can do this in any order you want, but I would suggest working from top to bottom so you don't miss something or forget anything. Let's do one more input field just so that you can get an idea of what the quiz will look like. This time I'm going to choose my students often confuse crocodile and alligator, so I'm going to do my crocodile. Done. I'm now going to add a second question. So you'll see here that I don't have a space to add a second question. I'm going to come up to the top, head right on back using that back arrow. Now I'm on my question dashboard. I can scroll to the bottom and add a question. You can also click on the word questions and you'll be right there, add a question. So let's go ahead and add our second question type. I love practicing listening and speaking in my French classes, in my English for speakers of other language classes. So I think I'm going to do a audio word match. So I'm going to select my audio word match. Once again, I'm going to put in my directions. Asking my students to match the word and the pronunciation. Here, I'm going to provide pairs. The audio will be on the left and the words will be on the right. And here's another great thing about BookWidgets. You can add distractors, so you have more choices for audio than you do words, or more words than you do audio, and to amp up the difficulty of your lesson. Remember that second superpower, that BookWidgets will do most of the grading for you, about 90% of the grading. So let's go ahead and add our first pair. My first pair is going to be my audio fragment. And once again, I have three choices. If I already have a file saved, importing a file from my Google Drive, or recording. I'm going to go ahead and select record. Right inside my Google Classroom, I have my recording option. And a little hint when you record, once I press record, I always take a little pause or a slight breath to make sure it picks up all of what I want in my recording. Monkey, a monkey. I'm going to pause that recording. I can listen to it. Monkey, a monkey. Once I like it, I click accept. And that recording will be brought into my question type. Right there it is. And now I'm going to add what I want my students to match. Let's go ahead and do that again. Record. A hippo, hippopotamus. And I'm going to leave that as a distractor. I'm not going to put anything on the right-hand side. Add another. A lion. And let's do one more. Giraffe. Let's go ahead and take a look at what that second question looks like. So I had my first question, I'm going to scroll down, and here's what that matching looks like. So you can easily see that distractor. I have 4 choices on the left and 3 choices on the right. If I had a mixed level class and I wanted to make my activity a little bit harder, I can duplicate this quiz, this worksheet, and have extra distractors for my more advanced students and no distractors for my students that are still learning. Let's add one more question before we take a look at what this quiz worksheet is going to look like. I'm sorry, I said quiz, it's a worksheet. What this is going to look like for our students. Let's add one more question. And in this instance, I'm going to add a question that is not auto-graded by the BookWidgets tool. And I'm going to do this because I want you to see what that grading feature looks like. So this time I'm going to give them a rich text question. This means that they have to add a little bit more information. I'm going to ask my students to write a 5-sentence paragraph. And of course, we're going to focus on our jungle animal. And I'm going to ask my students to use at least 2 adjectives in their description and tell me why this is their favorite animal. Up to this point, I had not talked to you about question grading. I'm going to highlight just for a minute correction and scoring options on this activity. Because I'm asking my students to write a 5-sentence paragraph and use some adjectives, I'm going to come down to the scoring, and I'm going to change the scoring weight of this question. I'm going to change the scoring weight of this question to 5. I'm going to be looking for 5 sentences, and inside those 5 sentences, I'm going to look for 2 adjectives. So I'm going to make the weight on this question a little bit higher. If we come up to question number 2, and we take a look at the scoring weight is 1. That means for each of the listening activities, they will score 1 point for each one that they complete correctly. So this activity would have 3 points, and the same for the annotate picture. 1, 2, 3, I have 3 points. There's no need for me to come down here and change this. If I change this to 3, it would mean that every one of those questions is worth 3 points. And for me, that's not what I want. So I'm going to leave it at the default, 1. So now we have our 3 questions. Let's take a look at what we've created for our students up to this point. Our annotate picture, our directions with the match word and pronunciation, and finally, our 5-sentence paragraph. I'm now very happy with the activity that I've created. Of course, this is a practice activity. Your worksheet or your activity would probably have more questions or different question types. Now, while I'm here, remember that was creating, my first superpower of creating, and my second superpower of auto grading. I need to send this to my students. So I'm going to select the word choose. That means this is the assignment that I would like my students to complete. If you select close, or if you select preview, preview will take you back where we were. Close will take you back to the BookWidgets dashboard. And you can, of course, assign the activity from there as well. But I'm going to select choose. Using the magic of BookWidgets, it's going to be processed with all of the correct answers. And look at that. Now I have saved that activity right inside my Google Classroom assignment. If I want to add extra instructions here, I can. If I want to add anything else for my students, if I only want to assign to specific students, I can do that. So all of the things that we do inside Google Classroom are still here for you. We're just being able to add the magic of BookWidgets there. If you want to add a due date, all of those things that we do, there you go. Now, it's very important that after you've added that assignment and you've created it, you assign inside Google Classroom. So make sure you come up to the right-hand side and select Assign. Now that assignment will go to all of your students inside Google Classroom. So let's take a look at what that's going to look like from the student point of view. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my student so that you can see my student. So Sam now has his assignment. Let's go see what this is going to look like from the student point of view. So now I'm inside Google Classroom as a student. I'm just going to hit that refresh button to make sure that that assignment comes to Sam. He's in my language class, and he can see right away that his teacher posted an assignment. He can click on the assignment here to see that assignment. He can also click on the classwork tab at the top. Nothing has changed inside Google Classroom for the student. So Sam is going to open up his jungle animals activity. He can view his assignment. He sees his teacher has assignment, and there's not a due date. Once again, if Sam is asked to sign into his Google Classroom, he will do so. And here's Sam's worksheet. Sam gets a notification that his teacher is going to have his progress, and Sam can start working inside Google Classroom on his worksheet. I want to show you, though, the third superpower, and this really, to me, is such a game changer inside BookWidgets. So I'm going to show you both Sam's worksheet and the teacher dashboard side by side. And the teacher is going to be able to look at individual students, or at this activity, jungle animals. And you'll notice when the teacher selects this activity, jungle animals, she has, let me just make this large so you can see. Across the top, the name of the activity, the live monitoring video, edit, or the student view. And you'll notice here that it says Sam was in this activity 1 minute ago. I didn't leave Google Classroom. I have my live option right inside Google Classroom. I have Sam, and I have whatever Sam's working on, and I have those questions. Now watch what happens as Sam starts working. Sam sees that number 1 is an elephant. Sam starts typing. And you'll notice right away what happened here with Sam's activity. It shows us that Sam already has a score, and it shows us that Sam did not get this question correct in real time. This is what I love about the live monitoring inside BookWidgets. I can click on Sam's name, and when I click on Sam's name, it shows me only the work that Sam is doing. So you have the opportunity inside Google Classroom to use that superpower of sight to look at just one student. And of course, if you have more than one student, there's going to be an arrow over here on the right-hand side so that you can navigate through other students. Or I can look at the individual question. So here I can see Sam's work on question number 1. And if I click, I will see Sam's work on question number 2. I see he hasn't started question number 2 or question number 3. I can use the X to exit out of his work. And let's continue to watch what happens as Sam works. Number 2 is lion. So Sam types in his lion. Watch on the right-hand side what happens. Once again, Sam's not doing so well, but then Sam realizes that he had that mistake. He goes in and he now has 1 out of 3. So he has at least 1 correct answer. And then finally, Sam knows that this is a crocodile. Sam is going to enter his information, and that quickly, BookWidgets has graded question number 1. Let's come on down to question number 2. Sam's going to listen to the question. A giraffe. He hears giraffe. Elephant. Elephant. And once again, from the student point of view, if Sam needed to change this, he comes right up here and just clicks that to change. Monkey. Oh, no. Oh, here's my monkey. Sam almost got that one incorrect. There we go. And our giraffe. And you could see in real time how when Sam was manipulating these, they were changing in real time. Why is this so important? Because sometimes I have students who won't raise their hand and ask for help. So I can send them a quick question. I can walk over to their desk and say, are you struggling? Do you not understand the directions? Do you need help? I was one of those students. My teachers always said, raise your hand if you're not finished. And I never raised my hand, even though I wasn't finished, because I didn't want everybody staring at me. If the teacher sent me a message and said, how much more time do you think you need? Or I'm going to give you 5 more minutes. I think I would have been much more successful in school. So the ability to monitor our students and see what they're doing, and also segues into that third superpower, the power of feedback. We don't have to provide students, as you all know, as veteran educators, we don't need to provide students feedback just at the end of the assignment. We can provide them ongoing feedback through seeing their work live and through sending them a message if we use a learning management system, if they're face-to-face, talking to them face-to-face and helping them. All right, let's go on down to our last question. Remember, this question will not be graded by BookWidgets. We'll need to grade it in just a minute on our own. So Sam, right away, we see Sam has started to write. I can dive in and take a look and see, all right, what is Sam doing? There's question number 1. Oh, awesome job, Sam. And I can see that he started typing on question number 2, I like tigers. Sam might take a look at the hint. He might use some of these formatting tools, but now Sam has completed his activity. This is a super important part of the rituals and routines inside BookWidgets. It's important that you remind the students that they need to turn in the work if it's something that you're going to look at by pressing the submit button. We'll ask the student's name depending on the parameters you've set up inside BookWidgets. But the students then get a reminder, and my students never read this at the beginning of the year. And the first week or so, I give them some grace and I remind them that they didn't turn in their work, but they need to make sure that they press this OK button. Speaking of not turning in work, I do want to show you a little hint, something that may help you. I hope you can see here next to score that there's a little envelope. This little envelope right here means that the student has not yet turned in their work. And as a teacher, I can use that envelope and turn in the work for them if I wanted to, or I can remind them that they need to turn in their work. So I just wanted to highlight that for you for just a minute. So there's that little envelope. Now I want you to keep an eye on that little envelope and try and not make this too small. Sam got the reminder here that he needed to make sure he turns in his work in Google Classroom. Watch what happens here. Sam's going to come up to the top in the green, select turn in. He's going to turn in his work inside Google Classroom. And now I'm going to be able to see whether or not Sam has turned in his work. All inside Google Classroom. This is so helpful to me. So I can then go in, and if I need to turn in Sam's work, I can do that as well. Here is my classwork, Jungle Animals, and I'm going to hop over on into grades. Now with grades, I can see that Sam has turned in his Jungle Animals, and I'm going to take a look. So the same process that you do inside Google Classroom, we just have that BookWidgets activity here. And I can see that Sam has a 6 out of 12 on this assignment. But like any good teacher, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at his work and see if I want to make any comments or add anything. And that brings us to our final superpower, which is the power of feedback. I do want to highlight for you this little filter here at the top. This is such a time saver for me. If you pull down this filter, you will hide correct answers. And for me, a lot of times I don't need to see the correct answers. So I'm going to filter those out. So I'm only looking at the things that I need to grade. And you will notice immediately I have question 1 and I have question 3. Question 2 has disappeared because remember that Sam had all of those answers correct. So I'm going to take a look here at his first activity. And I know that Sam knows that this is an elephant. He's just having a little bit of interference from his first language. And so I'm going to make a comment to him. I'm going to let him know that I know that he knows the animal. And remind him to watch his spelling. Since I know that Sam knows this animal, I'm going to come over here. I'm not going to give him full credit. I'm not going to pull this down and mark this as correct, but I am going to come over here and I'm going to give him a little bit of a boost on his points. And then I'm going to take a look at his paragraph. Sam has 2 sentences. He did include his 2 adjectives, but I want to remind him to make sure he follows directions. I can never type and talk at the same time. And I'm going to give Sam his points because this question is not auto-graded. You want to make sure that you put that information in there. So I'm going to give Sam 2 points. He didn't have any spelling mistakes. I was looking for a little bit more development. And then you can also leave a global comment here. So if you wanted to add something, you just say, and this will go directly to the student. Maybe remind them if you have tutoring after school or if you want them to come and see you. And you'll notice that the grading automatically computes every time I added something. So all of that grading is done for you inside Google Classroom. So I'm finished with my work for Sam. I do want to show you one more of the filter. It's not really a filter, but one more of the options up here inside Google Classroom. Using BookWidgets, you can choose how you send feedback back to the student. So I have some students who are hyper-focused on their points, their grade. And so sometimes I take away the total points. So you have an option here to include or not include certain numbers or correct answers for your students individually. And then the global configuration, of course, is the configuration for all of your students. So the process of submitting work for a student was a two-step process. And this process also for me as a teacher is 2 steps. I'm going to return the work to my student using this return work button inside BookWidgets. So I'm going to press my return work so that my student will be able to see the feedback. And now you'll notice that this says not returned. I'm going to come up here as well and press return. Of course, if you want to add any comments, try again or resubmit, you can do that as well. So I'm going to go ahead, return the work to Sam. And in this instance, I'm only returning to 1 student because I just have, for my demo purposes, my 1 student in my class. And now I want to take a look and see what Sam sees. So let's take a look and see what is it that Sam will see when he receives his work back from me. Going to go ahead and refresh so that Sam picks up that activity. And you'll see now that Sam's work is graded and Sam will be able to take a look at any comments that I had. Here is Sam's activity, and you'll notice that this is a flat PDF. The PDF that I was working on was totally interactive. I was able to add comments and update, but Sam here cannot change anything. So he sees my comments. He can see that he received partial credit for elephant. He did a great job on question number 2. And then, of course, for question number 3, he also sees my feedback. So I love the fact that I can contain my students inside Google Classroom. They're not navigating anywhere else. Of course, we all know that our students are professional at navigating to other places. But when I keep them contained inside my Google Classroom, it just sort of helps me keep them on track, help them stay on track. Let's review those superpowers that we had. We started with the power of creativity. Over 40 template types and 35 question types, all totally customizable for whatever class you teach, all the way from physics, chemistry, math, language arts, world languages, PE, music, art, everything is totally customizable for you. Then we have, like we can see here, the power of auto grading, which is our 2nd superpower, and our 4th superpower, which is the power of feedback. I teach in a school where I see my students every other day, and it just so happens, I don't know if some of you have heard, but we're having a hurricane where I live right now, and some of my students I might not see for 3, 4, or 5 days. With this option of providing feedback to my students, they will be able to take a look at the work they did and not have to wait a week to see their activity or to see their worksheet. And I think that that is really powerful for them. And then finally, probably the most exciting thing that we have for our Google Classroom users is the power of sight. The ability to monitor our students and reach out to them if we see they're struggling, or provide encouragement or extended activities to our students who are finished early. I was always that student who took a lot of time on their activities in class, and my teachers always would say, raise your hand if you're not finished. And I didn't want to raise my hand because I didn't want the other students to make fun of me. In this instance, using that live feedback, our teachers can see exactly where our students are in real time and provide them the support and the feedback that they might need. So I really love being able to use BookWidgets and that Google Classroom add-on together. I hope that you learned something new, even if you're a veteran user today. And if you're a new user to Google Classroom and BookWidgets, I hope that you learned a lot and that you continue to follow us on Facebook, take a look at our video channel and subscribe to it. Make sure you subscribe to our newsletter or our blog. We are here to help you and support you along the way.